Hi! In this video, we will cover student organization budgets and the funding opportunities available for student orgs.
Student organizations will have the opportunity to apply for a UT annual operating budget. Student organizations will be allowed to request a budget by submitting the budget request form through OrgSync due on January 31st. The budget request form will be available early fall semester for student organizations to submit prior to the deadline, and student organization presidents will be notified via email and by OrgSync notifications.
The Office of Student Involvement and Leadership oversees the allocation process for all the budget request applications in cooperation with SAC. All student organizations that submit a budget request are not guaranteed a budget for the following year and must reapply each year.
Student organizations that apply for an annual budget with a request for $3,000 or more will need to attend a hearing session to justify before SAC accepts the amount they are requesting. The student organization will be notified of when they are to come to present to the committee along with the guidelines of that presentation. Student organizations that miss their hearing session will receive a 10% reduction for a no-show. Student organizations that request between $1,000 and $2,999 will need to send in a PowerPoint for budget justification reasons. This PowerPoint will be reviewed and will be a part of the committee's decision-making process.
Now, who exactly can apply for a student organization budget?
Only student organizations will be eligible to apply for an annual budget. New student organizations will not be able to apply for an annual budget until they have been active on campus for 2 years.
New student organizations that would like to apply for funding are suggested to go to SAC. Once a new student organization remains active for at least 2 consecutive years on campus, the organization will be allowed to apply for funding and will receive no more than $250 as a new organization.
SAC is a student-ran committee that is comprised of 13 students from various student organizations. Student organizations may come before the committee and apply for funding for collaborative funding, travel funding, and special events funding.
Funding is based on the student organization's presentation and how the events will benefit the campus as a whole. Travel funding is limited, but SAC is always interested in hearing collaborative funding cases where student orgs get together for greater programming for the UT community.
Collaborative funding is encouraged. Events that are collaborative in nature will receive higher priority, as well as the events that are open to all students. And just a reminder, if a student organization is looking to use vendors for special events, it will need to use the preferred vendors list available from student organization budgets.
SAC meets weekly to review funding requests and does not meet over breaks, weekends, or holidays. The committee meets on Fridays between 2 and 4 p.m. Student organizations that want to apply for SAC funding are required to turn in the completed application through OrgSync. If a student organization wants to meet with SAC, they are required to turn in their application by Monday before 4 p.m. 4 weeks prior to the event. Late applications will not be accepted.
Representatives should plan to attend the hearing session and will receive a meeting time to present the request for funding 2 weeks prior to their meeting date. Representatives should plan to attend a SAC meeting to present the request and to answer questions regarding that request.
Student organizations that are awarded SAC funding should contact Jenny Hoffbauer, the Dean of Students Accountant. Do not spend your own money because you will not be reimbursed. If you have any general questions about funding, please consult with Jenny Hoffbauer.
Remember, ask before you spend. If you spend your own money before speaking with the Office of Student Involvement and Leadership, you will not be reimbursed.
Student organizations that receive an annual budget must stay in compliance with the spending guidelines and categories for which they receive the funding. These categories include sponsored events, honoraria, office supplies, computer supplies, other supplies, travel, room rental, awards banquets, subscriptions, dues, printing, photocopies, advertising, telephone, postage, and equipment rental.
Student organization budgets are general fee dollars and may not be spent on personal property, charitable donations, campaign contributions, alcohol, food during travel, printing, and copies off campus that could be purchased on campus.
Student organizations that wish to use their budget and are spending less than $1,000 at a store may request to use the University Purchasing Card, or what we call the P-Card. In order to reserve the P-Card, you must first talk to the Dean of Students Accountant, Jenny Hoffbauer. Her office is located in the Student Union Main Office, room 2525. The P-Card can only be checked out for 2 consecutive hours during regular office hours, from 8:30 a.m. until 5 p.m., and is not available for use on nights and weekends. Since there are only 2 P-Cards available for more than 300 student organizations, the P-Card must be reserved through Jenny at least 1 week in advance. So you must pay attention to the P-Card reservation procedures and dates.
When you pick up the P-Card, you will have to fill a form describing your intended purchase, where, why, and the estimated cost. Only then will you be able to pay a vendor using the University P-Card. The University P-Card is a tax-exempt credit card, so when you make a purchase using the P-Card, you must inform the vendor that your purchase must be tax-exempt. This means you may not pay tax for any of your purchases. Mistakes must be corrected at the time of purchase, and a receipt is needed as proof of the adjustment.
Remember, if you want to use the P-Card to pay a vendor, you must work with Jenny Hoffbauer to make arrangements 1 week in advance of the payment date. Failure to comply with the P-Card process may result in loss of privileges, restitution, sanctions, and/or loss of status for your student organization. If you want to use a check instead of the P-Card to pay a vendor or an agent, which is the person who represents a performer, you must work with the Student Union office 10 weeks in advance.
The University P-Card cannot be used for purchases or payments that cost more than $1,000. Again, I repeat, the P-Card cannot be used for purchases or payments that cost more than $1,000. If student organizations desire to use more than $1,000 of their student allocated budget or SAC funding on an item or service, you will have to submit a contract request 10 weeks prior to the event. The contract request form can be found on OrgSync under Forms.